Hold on. This is based on what you were just talking about. Of course, I'm telling them. And this is not based on a previous concept of bubbles or something like that, but I love the popability, I love the bubbles and the joy, and this felt worth sharing and Abraham playing with. And that is reality bubbles of like children blowing bubbles, just using this concept and using it to help one envision and create one's reality a little better. And one, just like the joy of a child blowing bubbles, and these bubbles are all out there in our reality. And you just kind of look at the bubble, each one, and kind of see what you like about it, or the joy in that, or whatever. And when you appreciate it, it pops and it's in your reality. And I just felt like sharing that and playing with that. And do you feel like playing with that?
Certainly, we think it's a good visual. So let's integrate it into what we were just talking about. And let's explain it in terms of the laws as we know them to be. Those bubbles don't exist apart from you. You're blowing them.
Okay. Right.
You're blowing the bubbles.
Okay.
And you're blowing bubbles based upon where your vibration is. In any moment that you're blowing the bubble, you're not blowing the beautiful bubbles and the horrible bubbles at the same time, because you're blowing them based upon where you are. So we'll use your analogy and we'll say you're surrounded by these bubbles that have the potential of popping and manifesting into your experience. And when you feel awful, when those bubbles pop, we're trying to control Esther's words. The potential of crap raining down around you is there. She was too strong for us. So that is basically what's happening. The bubbles are just popping and manifesting around you based upon where you are. And so you might say that when the good stuff starts raining down around you, you'll know where you are, but we'd like you to know ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. I want to play with a slightly different variation of that, and that is that if the bubbles are the variation where it's the good stuff, like the stuff that's in your vortex you were talking about, the stuff that you're creating along the way, the good stuff that's in your vortex when you're in your emotional space in between.
So you're saying in your version, which is your version,
right,
that the bubbles only contain the good stuff that's in the vortex?
Yes, that like you would be looking at it, and it's the good stuff. I'm not disagreeing, of course, with what you just said as what's going on, but as a way of appreciating the joy of what's in the bubbles, and being able to look at it, and maybe that's
Well, we think it's a good idea to find any sort of analogy that you can find. There are lots of different ways of focusing yourself into alignment. And to be fair with you, we're talking about a vortex you can't see. You can call it a bubble if you want to. It doesn't matter what this not yet fulfilled version of what you want is. You just need to find some way of focusing. You see, you were born with emotions. This is a really interesting thing. You were born with emotions that are, you've heard us say this so many times, but we want to say it in a way that feels fresh and new and moves something within you. Your emotions indicate your vibrational relationship. They just do. And we just can't think of anything more effective than an in-the-moment, visceral, feel it in my body response to something that I really need to know about. The reason that we so enjoy someone being willing to play with us is that as they start thinking more about what they want and they start meditating more, it makes them more sensitive to those emotions, so that you can actually feel when you're off. Esther will sometimes lay in her bed and ponder things, and ponder, and ponder, blissful, interesting, nice feeling thoughts. And we would say to her in those moments, you're in sync with who you really are. That's where your wheel is, and those are the thoughts that you have access to. Sometimes she will lie in her bed, and the thought that she will stumble upon or come to is not a good feeling thought, but for the first 17 seconds, it doesn't feel that bad. Nothing feels that good or that bad for the first 17 seconds. And nothing really feels that good or that bad for the next 17 seconds. But when you get into the third and the fourth, when you cross that 68-second point, you've got enough momentum going that you can unequivocally feel the alignment or misalignment of that thought. It's so interesting, and it's just the way it's supposed to be. Sometimes it isn't until that sick feeling in her stomach hits her that she even realizes the vibrational content of the thought. Oh, what a concept. Guidance. You see. So we can go through all kinds of gyrations and offer all kinds of processes and all kinds of analogies, but the fact of it is, how much clearer could it be? You don't have to phone in. You don't need a cell phone app. You don't need somebody else's agreement or disagreement. You don't need a contraption on the wall to measure the temperature or the velocity of it. You don't need anything that is external. You don't need anything to help you understand. You've got this internal indicator that is active all the time, that is with you everywhere you go, that you have, for the most part, as human species, allowed to become dormant. Now, the beasts of your planet, it's not dormant within them. You watch them. You're trying to get them to conform with their behavior, but they don't do it very easily. They feel, they know, they feel, they know. They have a keen sense of who they are. And while you want to domesticate those that don't want to be, you want to put saddles on their back and ride them around when you've got perfectly other wonderful conveyances that you could use instead. In other words, you have guidance within you. And we just keep wanting to bring you back to your awareness of your guidance instead of anything else. Enough?
Very grateful and appreciative. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, indeed.